Hey guys, it is Lunar Magic here, and you guys know that on this channel I never shy away from controversial topics, so you knew this one was coming. This proposed change to MTG tournaments has been floated around on forums and communities and Facebook and Twitter and among the pros, and everybody has talked about it at some point, but nobody really wants to say, yes, let's do it. They need to change this immediately because it's so controversial. The question is, should GPs and Pro Tours be changed to 100% digital? Still hold them in person, but make them 100% digital. Let's run down all the pros and cons of this. The pros are pretty obvious. Perfect, flawless, random shuffling. Now, that is to say, the software would have to actually have a flawless or close to flawless, randomization subroutine. Honestly, the ones built into all the programming languages by default would probably be good enough. They are pseudo-random, but they're really, really damn close to random, way closer than you could get with your hands shuffling. Oh, depending upon the method. There actually is one by hand method that would beat a computer just barely, but we're talking about a millionth of a percent, so who cares? So that would prevent deck stacking, having 5 copies of a card slipped in instead of 4, just any kind of cheating. I mean, I can't imagine how you would still cheat. You also, besides just shuffling and deck randomization, that sort of thing, no misrepresenting the board state, no misinterpreting triggers, no nothing. You would play the game exactly how it's supposed to be played, and that's that. I think rounds would go a little bit faster because people would be a little bit less confused about the board state and, other such things. You wouldn't even have to take the time to shuffle. You wouldn't have to take the time to physically sideboard. It would save quite a bit of time, and everybody's been complaining lately about the amount of time that people waste at the tournaments because everybody is waiting for people who run past the 50-minute round time and then take their dear sweet time to take their 5 turns. I'd heard that a lot of the times a judge will just come over and just end their game. If it looks like they're just dicking around and wasting everybody's time and they're one of the last people, they'll just be like, guess what? Bye. One of you loses or tied or whatever. So the tournament would run faster and there would be practically zero cheating. I mean, people could still scout by looking around at the screens and stuff like that, but that's just how Magic is designed, whatever. So it would be the perfect solution. Let's roll it out, right? Let's look at the cons first, and these are pretty significant. Plus, I'm adding a lot of my own that I haven't heard from other people. So you would need, we'll say, 3,000 computers. There is almost no venue in the world that has that kind of electricity. Now, besides maybe running it on tablets, which would actually be kind of cool, I mean, the screen size would be very restrictive, very annoying, and, you'd still have to have them charged, but they tend to draw about 3 to 7 watts, so you could almost put every damn, tablet on one outlet and it would be no problem. Wiring it up in a way that is within the fire code is a different story, but it would be doable. I mean, just give everybody a 10,000 milliamp hour battery pack, that'll run the average tablet for right around 15 hours. But assuming that they use laptops or desktops, even let's go desktop, because, I mean, why the hell would they do that? It would take up so much more space and just be stupid. They would probably go with laptops, but worst case scenario, they go desktops, electricity-wise, and you could put in a ultra-low clocked Celeron. Those are, I think, 45 watts these days from the 7th edition or something. I don't even remember if the 7th edition Celerons have been released yet or not. The 6th edition ones are pretty decent, though, and you wouldn't need much to run, some kind of MTGO clone. I mean, that runs on, a complete potato computer. Then throw in, some little tiny 60 gig SSD that runs on half a watt, and don't even put in an optical drive. Put in, a real low wattage power supply, although, efficiency is more important than peak watts because the system's only going to draw as much as it draws. Then run some low voltage DDR4. There you go. You got, about, probably 55 watt cap desktop. Well, and then when the Intel speed step kicks in, it would drop way back down and probably be around 15 watts. So it's a lot more doable than in 2007 when everybody had a Pentium D and they drew the whole computer was 150 watts plus. Now, you're probably thinking, wait a minute, hardware costs though, holy crap. I mean, you'd have to just about charge people 1/5 of the cost of the computers as the entry fee, and those wouldn't be that cheap. So yeah, there's that. I mean, you could get a sponsor, but even sponsors, I'm kind of familiar with this type of thing. They may send you, 16 high-end $3,000 MSI gaming laptops to show them off on camera, but they aren't going to send you 3,000. They have to then sell them as refurbished, basically, and that would lose them so much money it wouldn't even be worth the sponsorship. And of course, if people had bring your own device, that would be a security nightmare. People couldn't get their crap working, and that would just not happen. So the logistics of it is a nightmare, but we'll just say they get from like Systemax. They go and get a whole bunch of corporate off-lease 3 to 5-year-old laptops for like, $150 a piece bulk, and everybody runs them and they're great. You buy 3,000 mice for bulk from China, and you really didn't honestly spend that much, and you could use them for probably like 4 years worth of tournaments. I mean, people are going to break a certain amount of them, and you're going to have some failures, but have some spares on the side. I think 150 apiece is, pretty reasonable. Now, the other thing is, internet connection. Oh, hell no. You are not holding this on MTGO. No. You cannot run that many people wirelessly. You could barely run that many people wired. You'd have to have a hell of an internet connection. If the internet drops out, the entire tournament is over. So you'd have to just have like a local network. You'd almost have to have like some little dumpy router or something sitting right in between like every table or something like that. Like every table could be its own 8-port network, and then that's it. It's just point to point, peer to peer. They could probably rig an MTGO client to do that. They might need like one little mini server or something like that, but it would be doable. Then if, the network goes down, well, just one table went down. You just have a spare table wired up, or tell people to get out their paper decks. Now, that's the other thing. It's assumed that people would show up with their paper deck, check it in, verify it, and then they would like step up to a computer terminal or whatever and like program in their, deck file, and it takes like 3 minutes. Either that, or there could be a ton of staff doing that for them, to prove that they own the cards, obviously. So that wouldn't be the biggest problem. So let's just say all the logistic, networking, hardware, everything, it's covered. Okay, let's roll it out. What else would be wrong with it? Well, it would kind of give the impression to people at home that, oh, you can play, in person with analog cards at your F&M because that's so much lesser than the GP, but the real professionals run digital because paper cards are so 90s. And that Wizards is trying to fight that image. So it would just show how inefficient and flawed the paper cards are, but with 2, 3, 4 people getting caught for cheating at every single freaking tournament, I don't think that that's exactly a secret at this point. We all know the weaknesses of shuffling and all that, and I think the bad will, I don't know what word to use there. All of the bad will that they would generate would be offset by the additional confidence that the winner of the tournament was actually the best player or the luckiest player, depending upon how you look at it. Not just who cheated the most and didn't get caught, which is pretty much everybody's opinion at this point. I would say that looking at any top 8 from any tournament, just assume 4 of them were cheating to get there. That's my estimate. That's my opinion. Mathematically, probability-wise, and statistically, that pretty much is provable. If somebody wins more than the variance, then their name is probably Fabrizio and they've probably been cheating for 4 years. That's what I'm getting at. You can't just never get mana screwed, and your opponents can't always get mana screwed, because then you're that other guy, thumbing basic lands to the top wall pretending to shuffle. So what else? I mean, maybe it would be less exciting, I guess. I know that in a digital interface, it's a lot harder to run an infinite loop, and you can't take any shortcuts, so it might actually slow down certain games and certain decks. It would have to be programmed pretty intelligently to run like an infinite loop, or you would just have to be like, oh, I'm gonna infinite loop this, like you would with the actual cards, and then just have your opponent be like, yeah, okay, I get it, and then, hit the forfeit button. Now, a lot of people say, oh, what if the whole tournament gets shut down by technical problems, electrical problems, computer problems, the problem with the software? Then you get out your deck and play. I mean, it's like, just have it on you at all times, have that be a rule, and then, oh no, the computer's not working. Call a judge over. Our computer's not working. Okay, get out your cards, guys. No problem. Now, the camera footage might not be as exciting because, you're just, instead of looking at a nice board state and a nice overhead shot of all the cards and the artwork, you're looking at 2 guys on computers just clicking a mouse. Wow, how exciting. Except that you could run screen sharing, so I'm not really going to, consider that a con, and it would be crystal freaking clear. You could run it at 4K. You could take, 1920 by 1080 res, throw 2 of them up, plus a video feed of the announcers, and run that crap at 4K. I mean, you'd have room to spare. Now, the other cool thing is it would be pretty easy to just like multiplex multiple games. You could show, one guy versus the other, and then another guy versus the other, and put it in the 4 corners and still have room in the middle for the announcers. You'd need a hell of a computer to do that, but, whatever. Not that hard. There would be no question whatsoever what is in a person's hand. When they draw it and they kind of maybe show it to the camera, and then all the time the announcers are like, well, it looks like maybe he pulled a supreme verdict. I can't really tell from this angle or from this distance. Well, it would be like X-Mage. I mean, there is your hand. There it is, clear as day. Now, another major downside of a all computerized tournament is, it's kind of like, why wouldn't I just stay home? Why would I pay for this expensive plane ticket and hotel and all that crap to just come play on a computer when I could just go to an MTGO online tournament? And you could stream that about as easily. I mean, you could say, do the old Twitch thing and have it a picture-in-picture with your webcam if you really want to see the player too or whatever. But I think that's its own thing. I mean, I think traveling to a tournament, the vendors, the buying and selling cards, all the vlogging and crap that goes on, the photos, that's like its whole thing. Like the tournament is almost just the who cares part, and then everything else is why you show up. You also would be able to like read your opponent still because, unless they're literally hiding behind their screen, which you could just avoid by using really short laptops, you're going to be able to see them and look if they look stressed or if they look happy about a draw or whatever. Now, one of the cons, though, for sure, is if there has to be a ruling made, you can't just reprogram the computer. You can maybe have like a judge log in and just override anything on the board state. Just be like, hey, I'm putting it into God mode. Right click on the card, send it to exile, if something came up. But other than that, I mean, you have very limited control. The rules are the rules. So like I said, you'd have to program in some kind of admin God mode so that somebody could just walk up and just correct something if some weird rule thing happened and the computer didn't know what to do or the players didn't know what to do. Oh, or of course, if the computer's logic made a mistake, like the actual game's programming. So overall, I mean, do I think they should try it for a tournament? Yeah, but do I think they will? No. Because they're trying to push the whole thing about cards are not antique. Not everything is getting computerized. You should go to your local store. Don't go to eBay. The whole let's promote old school lifestyle stuff. Otherwise, our whole business is going to collapse, which isn't even true. They just, really don't want to lose the 40% of money that they make on physical cards. Approximately 60% is from MTG, if you're wondering what the other half is. So it's not like that's failing anytime soon. Clearly people prefer the digital version, although money-wise, do they appear to prefer it? Yes. Do they actually prefer it? Maybe, maybe not. Probably not from what I've heard. There are a couple little minor, pros and cons too, like, people wouldn't have to buy sleeves, although if you had your deck on you and you had to whip it out and play in case the computer breaks, then you would have to buy sleeves, but you wouldn't have to buy as many because people wouldn't say, oh, that's scratched, that's marked, I hope you have a replacement. There's all kinds of card marking and card manipulation. I think it would be worth it just to get rid of all the cheating. People would actually watch it because they would think, yes, this is legit. I mean, the coverage might still suck because they keep hiring production companies that don't know what the hell they're doing, but at least people would believe in the results. It would be like, the Patriots going to the Super Bowl versus any other team going to the Super Bowl. You actually believe the results if it's not the Patriots. But like I said, if I had to predict the future and say, will Wizards ever actually do this? No, I don't think they will. They really want it to be a card tournament. Could they digitize the World Series of Poker? Sure, but I think enough pros were against it that they just didn't. I think I even read a news article about that. I mean, they believe in the accuracy of the Shuffle Master because those machines cost a ton of money and they're casino grade good. I mean, they really do randomize the cards. So what else is left? I mean, just somebody looking at a screen instead of looking at their two cards in a Texas Hold'em tournament. Who cares? I mean, it's almost not even worth the technology cost. It would look more up to date and futuristic, but it would just look that way. It wouldn't actually be that way. So if the World Series of Poker isn't going to switch over because, besides the hassle and stuff, it would kind of look like they're getting away from poker's roots and enough people that watch it would be mad about that they won't. And I think Wizards is kind of going for that. They're going for that analog paper card vibe, like paper cards are still cool. Not everything has to be digital, like I said. I don't think they'll ever just institute computers, but here's something that I think they should do. Just computerize the top, couple, the top 8, the top 16, whatever. Or like, well, yeah, it would be 16, I think. I don't know. I don't watch these damn tournaments in case that hasn't become totally apparent. But if they did just the final tables, then okay, you got to the final tables by cheating. Now you get destroyed. No more card manipulation. You're going to get killed because you're a terrible player. So it would eliminate the cheaters to an extent, but they'd still get, usually at least $1,000 from the prize pool. So that's a shame. But at least then a discrepancy between paper performance and digital performance could be very easily spotted. Patterns could be spotted, and the judges could just zone in on somebody that they think is cheating by, mathematical statistics. And plus, like I said, screen sharing, picture-in-picture, direct streaming, that kind of stuff. They probably should just make a computerized local version of MTGO, have people program in their decks, and just run the, the top 16, top 32, whatever. I think that would be pretty cool because they could have like a shared interface where they have a giant, 72-inch TV showing the match, or the table could be a television, or they could have it on a giant touch control. I mean, it would look pretty cool. They could really, presentation-wise, beef it up pretty good. then it would look futuristic, but then, the other 2,900 whatever people were using paper cards at the rest of the tournament, so they can't say that they digitized the whole thing. And they do actually have additional kind of like anti-cheat methods that they implement at the final couple tables, and that they implement if you're on camera. I mean, they're kind of weak examples, but like you have to have a distinct pile of your graveyard versus your exile that aren't touching and are different directions from your library or something like that, like at least 90 degrees different. I'm sure I'm massacring that rule, but it was passed like a year ago. Also, all of your cards have to face a certain direction only if you're on camera. So there's an on-camera REL, rules enforcement level. I just read about some of the stuff and like, this is really weird, but why not just digitize the whole damn thing? Get rid of all these problems. Plus, then you'd save yourself the embarrassment of all these cheaters getting caught on camera at the final tables cheating, and usually like 3 days later, and usually by some douchebag on Reddit with too much time. So what do you guys think? I'm curious to see if you guys would be interested in them digitizing an entire tournament, part of a tournament, or not at all because you love paper. Would it be worth the anti-cheat and the, absolute flawless following of the rules by everybody, no misinterpretations whatsoever of the game's mechanics? Or do you just absolutely hate it? You think it would be too much of a hassle and Wizards would screw it up because they screw up everything digital and the whole thing would probably crash and catch on fire? And also one more con, if you get that many computers in one enclosed area, there is no air conditioning system in the world that could keep that cool. I mean, giant LAN parties, they usually bring in some kind of weird thing to do something about it. Maybe I'm not quite up to date on cooling technology at that grade. But yeah, there's a lot right with it and a lot wrong with it. And I think there's enough wrong with it that it's not just like, yes, clear-cut decision, let's do it. And I think that's the main reason that they aren't doing it. There would be almost as many downsides as there are upsides. I personally would prefer that they do it, but you guys know I used to be the CIO of a company, so I'm kind of into computers. So yeah, digitize everything. What the hell? Why do I even leave my house anymore? Why do I go grocery shopping? I should just go on Amazon. I should have drones fly me my 1 pound bag of carrots, damn it. And did I still run a dumb phone and a lot of stuff at my shop? We use sticky notes. And I don't mean a digital app called Sticky Notes. I mean sticky notes. So let me know what you think down in the comments section, and I will see you guys next video.